Hello viewers, today we're going to talk about how to get closer with your cameras. Now if you have a lens and you find it doesn't focus very close, for example this is a 135mm Pentax lens and it only focuses down as close as 5 feet. What do? Well, there's various attachments you can buy for your cameras. Now here we have a universal bellows attachment in this mysterious box with a mysterious tape measure. Inside we have some other little containers. The easiest one is to use a close-up lens, and it's not a filter because it doesn't filter any light. That is a close-up lens that you can put over your existing lens and it will enable it to focus closer. Well, what is the disadvantages? Well, if you are interested in fine detail at the edges, it can sometimes blur the fine detail at the edges, but it enables you to focus closer. They come in various strengths. This is a +1 diopter Hoyer lens, 55mm screw in. You can get them in different sizes. +1 diopter means that when you have your camera lens on infinity, you are 1 metre away focused with that lens. Here's another one, which is a smaller one. This is a +2 diopter, and that means it's stronger, and when you have your camera lens focused on infinity, you're actually ½ metre away in focus. Now the other method is to take the lens off the camera and to fit attachments. Now this is the BPM universal bellows attachment I got here at a sale. Universal means you can fit other attachments at the end. This is a Pentax screw fit which fits Praktikas and Zeniths as well. But you can also get a set which you screw in, it fits Canon FD. By taking this off and unscrewing this, you can fit a Canon camera and it will fit on your camera correctly. Here we are, it goes in like that, and you can bayonet that into your Canon FD lens. Now at the other end you can have what fitting you like. You can fit Canon lenses or you can fit screw thread lenses. Inside here I have a M39mm attachment into a 42mm Pentax screw. The 39 fits an enlarging lens. This is a E-Rockor 105mm enlarging lens, and I use that a lot on my cameras, and it's very good for close-up photography. And it's a cheap method if you haven't got a proper macro focusing lens, which we can show you in a second. You can rack it out and focus on very small objects, and it will give you very sharp results because an enlarging lens is designed for use at close quarters. Now here we have a Pentax bellows attachment, and they are quite small, excuse the noise, things are falling off. According to which make you get, the bellows can be huge. For example, if you have a Nikon, they are huge. That is my wife's Nikon bellows attachment for her Nikon cameras. And the Nikon lens goes in there, and the camera goes on that end. It's very big. If you have a medium format camera, the bellows are even bigger. If you don't want the bellows attachment, you can get extension tubes. This is a set of Pentax screw extension tubes. Again, they come in different sizes according to what make of camera you've got. That is a set of bayonet K fitting Pentax extension tubes. We have a Canon FD set here, and we have the huge set for the Pentacon 6 medium format camera here. They are huge. They fit on, take the lens off, fit it on the front, and the bigger the camera, the bigger the set of extension tubes. But they all do the same thing, enable you to move your lens further from the focusing plane, and you will be able to get very good close-up results. Now if you can afford, you can get a special lens called a macro lens. You don't need the extension tubes in. This is a Pentax 15mm f4 super multi-coated screw thread macro lens. This will fit onto my Pentax or a Praktica or any Zenith, for example, anything with a screw thread. It fits on. Here's my Spotmatic, and then I take that off and I screw on the macro lens like that, and then when you rack it out, the lens extends away from the focal plane, and I can get to half life size with that if I want to. Of course you can always add an extension tube onto the end of your macro lens for getting even closer. So sometimes I have done that. I put in a screw thread lens extension tube, then I put the macro lens on that, and that gets extremely close. It's very, very useful. Now the thing about this is, as soon as you extend your lens, you are going to upset the exposure, because your camera is designed for your lens to be focused from infinity down to its closest focusing, or 5 feet, or on a 50mm lens it's 0.45 of a metre. If you go outside of that and you get closer, you start losing light down the lens and you get under exposure. Now on the Pentax Spotmatic you have through the lens metering. So I press up the switch here, I turn the aperture and I turn the little shutter speed dial until a needle centres in the viewfinder. That will give me the correct exposure, provided I'm not photographing something which is absolutely all white or something which is all dark. Of course you've got to do the usual thinking of the tonal values of your subject. That will enable me to do away with any calculations. However, if you have a camera and it doesn't have through the lens metering, you've got to do a bit of calculating. This is where my tape measure comes in. If you have your bellows racked out, you measure the distance you have from the bellows lens here to the film plane at the back. So for example, say that's the film plane here, that's 130mm or 13 centimetres. Then you do a calculation according to the formula, bellows extension squared divided by focal length squared. That will give you the factor by which you increase your exposure. So bellows extension squared was 13 centimetres times 13 centimetres, that's 169, divided by focal length squared, which is 10.5 times 10.5, let's see if we're doing it right, equals 168 times. No, that's not right, sorry folks, we'll have to do it again. It was 169, well 10.5 times 10 point, I'm doing it wrong here, 10.5 equals 110.25, that's right. So it is 169 divided by 110.25 equals, oh here we are, the nearest factor is 1.5 times you increase the exposure for that amount of extension, you disregard all these small numbers here, go to the nearest. 1.5 times the exposure you would increase for that amount of extension, which is only about half a stop. That if you use a longer focal length lens, you find you don't increase your exposure so much. But if you use a very short exposure lens, then you find you have to increase your exposure a great deal. Now I'm going to see in the time if I can quickly take a picture using extension tubes on my K10D Pentax here without knocking things over. I'm going to put on my set of K fitting lenses and I put on my 135mm lens. I'm going to switch it on, it's all set up for 400 ASA. I'm going to put this little dolly down there and then I'm going to focus on the little dolly, and then I should be quite a distance away because I've got the 135 lens on. There we are, that's giving me about half a metre away. Come out that's come out underexposed because wonder why it's come out underexposed. We'll try it again. Aperture values, yes. Here we go. See if we can get a picture of the little dolly. Came out alright when I did my demo on my ring flash. Right, there's the face of the little dolly, if you can see it amongst the reflections, with the 135mm lens on the extension rings. Now if that was a little insect, I wouldn't have frightened it away because I'm quite a distance off. If you're using a 50mm macro lens, you're very, very close to the subject, and the little insect, if you're about here with your macro lens, the little insect will fly away because you're too scared. If you put a longer focal length on, you're right back here somewhere, and the little insect doesn't get frightened, doesn't see your shadows, and doesn't fly away. So if you're going to do insects, you can use a longer focal length lens on your extension tubes or your bellows, and your distance is further away. Well, hope you've enjoyed a short dissertation on the use of all these attachments, and I hope you'll follow me again some other time. Thank you for viewing.